don't count him out. I think that's a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. But at the end of the day, we could have a big upset, But I think that AJ is too much for Jake Paul at this point, and he's bigger than Jake Paul, in my opinion.
AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out?
This might be a step too far. Now, when I say it, I'm also I try to be responsible. I've been in this game 50 years, so I know where not to step. Where you could twist an ankle, or worse, you could break a leg or fall down.
If I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the f*** is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there.
Pros all over the boxing world are weighing in on the shocking Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup. And the room is completely split. Many analysts insist Joshua's size, experience, and Olympic background give him a huge edge, predicting he could force a stoppage if he simply applies steady, educated pressure. Others point to Jake Paul's rapid progress, serious training camps, and his willingness to step in with naturally bigger men, arguing he might nick rounds with sharp movement and counters. Still, the majority of professionals see Joshua as the clear favorite because of his power and ring IQ. Yet the mystique around Paul keeps the whole event fascinating. Fans are left wondering if this is the night he shocks the boxing world Agenor, finally hits his ceiling.
Can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the f*** is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden, he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. You can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So...
Tommy Fury views the matchup as almost completely one-sided because of the massive gap in natural size and pedigree. In his eyes, heavyweight boxing is a different universe, built on years of craft and power that smaller fighters and, especially newcomers, rarely fully grasp. Elite big men develop timing, balance, and strength that can change a fight in a heartbeat. And Fury believes that alone makes this a mountain Jake Paul simply cannot climb. For him, this isn't about disrespecting Jake's improvements. It's about respecting what true heavyweights bring when the first bell rings.
And I know you say it's entertainment and there'll be a massive audience, but is there an element of danger as well? Look, AJ's a former world champion, and this is a guy, the best he's been in with is Tommy Fury.
Listen, he don't really care. In the boxing ring, it's the only place you can murder somebody and not go to jail. So, kudos to that. So if he gets beaten up and something happens, it's part of the game.
Well, I'm not sure that's a game that people will want to see, though.
Is it a real fight, though? Is this going to be a proper fight? You will know more than most.
Mate, let me tell you something. From how much they're getting paid, about 177 million, whatever, and they're splitting down the middle. So I hope it's not a game, because I want to see some blood. I want to see somebody's teeth falling out. So I told Anthony, I already messaged Anthony, I was like, listen, I tell you what, I said to AJ, if this goes past 5 rounds, everybody's going to be having a go at you, because you can't go past 5 rounds with this kid. He has to go past 1 round or 2 rounds. Past beyond 4 or 5 rounds, people are going to be doubting you as a fighter himself. So he has to smoke him out like what he did Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia in 1 round.
Yeah, and I think you're dead right. Is he worried about that? Is he worried about what happens, if he doesn't see him off in the first round or the second round?
No, he's not worried about it. He's going to smoke this guy out. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to smoke this guy out properly. I'll be there. He's going to smoke him. I can't wait.
Theoretically, if he comes out swinging, right, AJ should be able to get it done in are we talking 30 seconds? If AJ is giving it everything he's got.
Listen, if AJ comes in there and just blows on this kid, he's gonna just drop him to the floor. So I don't really. I'm just wasting money going to Miami, because I know it's gonna be finished in 1 round. So
are you gonna go?
Derek, Chisora looks at this fight through the lens of a veteran who has stood across the ring from almost every top heavyweight of his era. He doesn't just judge technique, he judges how a man behaves when everything turns rough. In Chisora's mind, Jake Paul has never been dragged into those dark, punishing moments by a prime, elite heavyweight. And this division does not forgive experiments. He predicts the contest ends quickly, long before the later rounds. Because the gap in size, experience, and natural heavyweight strength is simply too wide. For Chisora, the only mystery is how Joshua finishes the job. Not if Jake can somehow survive deep into the fight.
Jake has said that he's interested in doing Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul.
Let's talk about fights that make sense. Jake Paul's doing whatever Jake Paul does. If Joshua's serious about wanting to stay in boxing, then fight good, real fights, if that's what you want to do. I mean, if you want to go down this other road and do this, then that's by all means do it. But it's a different journey and it's a different pathway. I think as fighters who've been in the game for a long time, I want real fights. If I was given the opportunity to fight Jake Paul, would I take it? No.
Not even for the money, no.
No, like I want to be champion of the world. That's my goal, and that's what.
For Joseph, Parker's take is built on professionalism and years at world level. He believes a fighter like Anthony Joshua, who has spent a career working with top coaches and sparring world champions, carries layers of technique Jake Paul has not had time to acquire. Parker respects Jake's bravery and ambition, but he sees Joshua as too refined, too physically imposing, and far too seasoned to be genuinely troubled by someone still at the early stages of their boxing journey. To Parker, this is the difference between a polished heavyweight contender and a fast-rising project.
I would love to see that myself. I would love to see that fight. Interesting.
Who do you lean towards?
You know, it's just gonna be. It would just be a good fight. You don't have to miss a good fight, but you know, being the best. You know, because my whole thing, I don't want nobody to think I want somebody. I like boxing, and whoever wins.
Evander Holyfield breaks the matchup down through mentality and conditioning. He acknowledges Jake Paul's fitness and desire to improve. But he sees Joshua as a man who has already lived through long, draining heavyweight battles. Holyfield believes that surviving round after round under the weight and strength of a natural heavyweight is a different test entirely. In his view, Joshua's engine, experience in deep waters, and belief built from years at the top create a barrier Jake will struggle to break. That's why Holyfield leans heavily toward AJ when the fight becomes a test of heart and stamina.
Don't count him out. You know, I think that's a very dangerous fight for Jake Paul. But at the end of the day, you know, we could have a big upset, you know. But I think that AJ is too much for Jake Paul at this point, and he's bigger than Jake Paul, in my opinion.
Do you think it's competitive? A lot of people are saying if AJ doesn't get him out of there in 2 rounds, it'll be a huge embarrassment.
I don't think that's not the case, that he's gonna get Jake Paul. At the end of the day, Jake Paul has been training hard too, and you know he's a pretty good fighter. I don't think he would take him out in 2-3 rounds. I think maybe in the later rounds, or it might go to decision, you know. But I don't think that Jake Paul can take AJ out. I mean, or AJ could take Jake Paul. Maybe, you know. But I don't know. It's just going to be an exciting fight. I think I want.
Asterisk 6. David Benavidez Sr. has delivered one of the most alarming assessments of this potential clash, leaving many fans stunned. In his opinion, Jake Paul is stepping into a level of danger he has never known before, and this matchup could expose the limits of his rapid rise in the sport. Benavidez Sr. believes Joshua's size, strength, and championship resume create a scenario where Jake must be exceptionally cautious every second of every round. He argues that confidence and punching power mean little when you're standing in front of a seasoned heavyweight who has competed at boxing's highest level, and that's exactly why he views this as a serious gamble for Jake.
I want to change subjects just a little bit here, and Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. 1, do you think it's good for boxing, and 2, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he'd probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than he will fight anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but if he's going to do something, if you want to get a good win to put him back on the scene, that's a perfect one.
Roy Jones Jr. offered a blunt but measured perspective. He emphasized that any bout with Jake Paul has to make sense for Joshua, both competitively and financially, because AJ is a genuine former world champion. Jones reminded fans what Joshua did to previous crossover opponents and suggested a similar outcome if Jake steps up. In Roy's eyes, believing that a fighter who didn't come up through the traditional professional ranks can simply walk in and outclass Joshua is wishful thinking at best. For him, this matchup highlights the difference between entertaining crossover fights and facing a seasoned heavyweight specialist.
On this nonsense?
Where am I? I can't see it happening. I can't. Although yes, lots of money, so on and so forth. I can't see it. I just can't. It just obviously as someone who's been a unified heavyweight world champion going in against Jake Paul, it doesn't sit right. Yeah, and it's like I'm also talking from a health and safety factor. It's like he's maybe a cruiserweight. Yeah. I think Joshua's a very big, strong heavyweight, and if he turns it on, it's not just a risk of a knockout. It's a much bigger risk. So I can't see it personally.
Lawrence. Okolie has raised serious concerns about Jake Paul sharing a ring with Anthony Joshua, framing it as a potential safety issue rather than just a spectacle. Okolie has sparred with Jake and has previously praised his dedication and attitude. But he now feels that a clash with a Jay who combines elite power with technical discipline would be a dangerous mismatch. He's not alone. Promoter Eddie Hearn has called the idea very risky, while Frank Warren has also warned about the huge physical gap. Former world champion Amir Khan echoed those sentiments, cautioning that underestimating Joshua's strength and experience would be a grave mistake for Jake.
Past Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, as much as he's a monster, he's got a weak mind, hasn't he? So Jake could end up getting into it because Jake's got everyone eating out the palm of his hand. He's a very clever man. So
you really think he's got a chance?
Why wouldn't he have a chance? Look how confident he is. Mate, come on. Like, Anthony would have all the pressure in the world, and if Anthony didn't do him with the first few punches, he'd start doubting himself in his head, because that's what he does. But no, Anthony should win, shouldn't he? But
what do you make of Tyson Fury saying that he's going to put $1 million bet on Jake winning by knockout?
Tyson to leg it, lad. He's retired about 50 times. What's he on about, mate? Just tell him to leg it, and I'd love him. If he walked in here, I'd obviously...
At one point you were good friends.
I'm still good friends, but obviously if he walked in here, I'd act like I'm not talking about him, but then on the camera I'm talking, you know? Is this not what we're on?
Fair enough.
Is everyone not fake, or no? We all... What are we on here? Are we all acting like we don't hate each other? Like, come on. Like, what?
You're on absolute smoke today.
Shut your mouth, Tyson.
On the other side, former UFC contender turned boxer Darren Till has stepped up as one of Jake Paul's loudest supporters. He criticized the way some powerful figures in the sport talk about the matchup, arguing that Jake is walking in with nothing to lose. Till points to those moments when Joshua has looked uncertain under intense pressure, insisting that Jake's self-belief and mental toughness could give him a surprising edge if the fight happens. In Till's view, the question isn't just about skills, it's about who handles the spotlight and the chaos of the moment better when everything is on the line.
He's lost his mind. This is probably the worst mistake of his career. Even in the poster, you can see this is a David and Goliath story here. I mean, there's times where I thought Jake is a cruiserweight. There's times where I thought even he could be a light heavyweight. And now he's stepping in with one of the most chiseled, bona fide heavyweights in the world right now in Anthony Joshua. I'm about to break the internet over Jake Paul's face. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but it sounds fucking demented, terrifying. And speaking of the insanity of this thing, here is what the first line is. Jake as a plus 800. I have a feeling that's going to shift even more toward AJ. AJ's the 18-wheeler going 90 down the straightaway, and Jake is in a golf cart going 10 miles an hour, headed right back at the 18-wheeler. It's going to be freaking destruction. Look at the reach. He's got a 6-inch reach on Jake, and trust me, the Chloe concept has told me the 6 inches is more.
Many analysts still call Jake Paul's pursuit of a fight with Anthony Joshua the biggest gamble of his career, because the potential downside dwarfs the upside. Sharing a ring with a former unified heavyweight champion puts him in front of a level of size, power, and experience he has never faced before. Even small errors could have major consequences on such a stage. Observers warn that a clear defeatist, especially a heavy one, could damage the credibility Jake has built against smaller or less seasoned opponents and slow the momentum of his boxing project. They argue that while the payday might be huge, the long-term impact on his reputation could be even bigger.
Hearn has confirmed that they are actually in talks to have this fight before a possible fight against Fury.
Well, Eddie Hearn's a promoter first and foremost, and he's in the business of making money. I'm not so sure he's even thinking about anybody's, getting hurt or anything like that. That hasn't even entered his head. But it should, because somebody could easily lose their life.
That's quite a concern, isn't it? I mean, that should be the forefront of everybody's mind.
I think so. I think there's the fight business, and then there's the fight game, and the way they're talking about it, they're talking about it like it's a game. I don't think Anthony Joshua would take Jake Paul lightly, any way, shape, or form, and it'd be so easy to hit. You're talking about a trained athlete,
Freeweight world champion and former ITV boxing commentator Duke McKenzie has been especially critical of the idea of Anthony Joshua facing crossover opponents like Jake Paul. He's skeptical of the wider trend of YouTubers and mixed stars stepping into high-level boxing matches, calling it risky and often unnecessary. Reflecting on Joshua's bout with former UFC champion Francis Ngannou, McKenzie warned that mixing disciplines at this level can bring real danger if the matchmaking isn't handled carefully. In his eyes, a fight with Jake Paul would be another example of a spectacle that could easily overshadow the sporting side of boxing.
And I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else. What comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost one. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not.
Former Olympic boxer and respected analyst Tony Jeffries, however, has surprised many by outlining a path where Jake Paul could actually beat Anthony Joshua. Jeffries argues that Jake's key advantages are youth, freshness, and confidence, while Joshua has spent more than a decade dealing with intense pressure, tough fights, and public scrutiny. Jake comes in with far less mileage and a fearless mindset. Jeffries also highlights Jake's rapid improvement, pointing out that he trains with serious coaches, spars quality professionals, and has shown discipline and power far beyond what many expected when he first entered the sport. For Jeffries, that combination makes Jake more dangerous than traditional fans might think.
About possibly Joshua using Jake Paul as a tune-up to fight you. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about tune-up. I think Jake Paul knocks him out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why so? What impresses you about Jake Paul?
I just think Jake Paul would knock AJ out. I think AJ's a spent force, and I think Jake Paul's on the rise. And I like his new heavyweight look. Bit chubby, bit bulky.
Meanwhile, a growing group of fans and analysts have applauded Jake Paul simply for chasing such a daunting challenge. Tyson Fury even went as far as calling Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua a 50-50 fight, a verdict few saw coming from the heavyweight king. Fury believes Jake's work ethic, confidence, and willingness to keep taking bigger tests make him a genuine threat, especially if Joshua starts to feel the pressure of expectation. Even those who still see Jake as heavily outgunned admit it takes serious courage for a natural cruiserweight and relatively new boxer to target a former unified heavyweight champion. They argued that, whatever happens, Jake refuses to take the easy influencer route, and that alone keeps fans glued to the story.
Jake Paul. The cojones this motherfucker has, from a Disney kid to YouTube to he can fight anyone and get views and make fucking money. This crazy wild boy sends out the bat signal, the British bat signal for Anthony motherfucking Joshua. You know how crazy that is? I will say this. I don't think any of Jake Paul's fights are fixed in any capacity. At all. Not even close. I don't get down that narrative. I will say this, though. My spidey senses will go off if Anthony Joshua doesn't absolutely mop the floor with him.
It could even be close to being done, to being signed. And like I say, don't be shocked when this happens, because like we say, There's going to be a lot of people that criticize it, but ultimately, there's going to be a boatload of money to be made. The promoters, Eddie, Nick, the MVP. There's so much money involved in that fight. And if you're Anthony Joshua, it's a no-brainer. If anyone criticizes Anthony Joshua, you're a fool.
But Anthony, I mean, I've got to say this as well. That even though I don't think the fight should be sanctioned, I don't really want to see him in the ring against Tony Yoka. I don't think it does anything for him. If he fights anyone, he should be fighting Tyson Fury.
It's not,
in my view, it should be a fight with Tyson Fury. That's as big a behemoth, as big a commercial beast. Absolutely. You're going to tell me that Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul is bigger than Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury?
It is, commercially. Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul commercially is bigger. But what I'm saying is, as a British boxing fan, and the amount of times, right,
you need to see Fury
I've been sat, even in this very studio, I've been asked about Tyson Fury against AJ. We have to see that fight before both of those two men sail off. I know Tyson Fury's retired and he unretires, he retires and he unretires, but we have to see that fight for British boxing. They both owe the...
So now the question lands back with the fans. When that first bell rings, whose hand do you see raised? Does Anthony Joshua's size, pedigree, and heavyweight experience prove too much, or does Jake Paul produce the biggest shock of his career and flip the boxing world on its head? Let us know who you're backing in the comments, and get ready, because if this fight happens, the fallout will be massive.